Astotra Stat Sisimad Divine Grace is confirmed Acharya Sila Abhayachan Vinda Bhakti Vedanta Sami Papa Razaki Jai Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrada Acharya Astotra Stat Sisimad Divine Grace Sila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Gosam Papa Razaki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnavina Ki Jai Namacharya Sri Haridasa Guru Ki Jai Prem se kahao, Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gatadhala Sivasadi Se Gaura Bhaktavinda Ki Jai, Sri Radha Krishna Gopal Gopinath Syamakunda Radha Kunda Girikavadam Ki Jai, Sri Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Sri Mathura Dham Ki Jai, Mayapanavadip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannapuri Ayodhya Dham Ki Jai, Ganga Mai, Yamuna Mai Ki Jai, Samata Tulsi Devi Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveda Bhakti Vina Ki Jai, Nitai Gaur Premanandi Hari. All glories to the Sama devotees, all glories to the Sama devotees, all glories to the Sama devotees, all glories to Sri Gauranga. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. I'd like to make a request. Those sitting at the far end there, can you move forward a little bit? We are one family, Prabhupada's family, Krishna family, so come forward. Okay. So, what's the topic for today? Yeah, what's the topic for today? What are the guys who organize the program? Okay, so I was just reflecting. Yeah, what do you want us to talk? Okay. You got Bhagavad Gita here? You know the text you stopped? You have an idea? Is it the second chapter? Okay. Thing is, I'm not having. Can you pick up a text and let's say we just say we read Bhagavad Gita chapter 18, text 55. Well, what about that? Ati, you have any text in mind in the chapter 2, later part of chapter 2? What text do you have in mind? Two? 240. All right. Can you read that because I'm not having my glasses here? Kramanastosti Pratyabhayo na vidyate
Dharmasya
Sarvamapyasya dharmasya
Trayate mahato bhayat
Trayate mahato bhayat
Neha vikramanasosti
Neha vikramanasosti
Pratyavayo na vidyate
Pratyavayo na vidyate
Svalpamapyasya dharmasya
Sarvamapyasya dharmasya
Trayate mahato bhayat
Trayate mahato bhayat
Neha vikramanasosti
Neha vikramanasosti
Pratyavayo na vidyate
Pratyavayo na vidyate
Svalpamapyasya dharmasya
Sarvamapyasya dharmasya
Trayate mahato bhayat
Trayate mahato bhayat
Anyone can try?
Neha Vikramana Shosti Pratyavayana Vidyate
Pratyavayana vidyate
Svapamapyasya Dharmasya
Svalpamadhyasya dharmasya
Trayate Mahato Bhayat.
Trayate mahato bhayat.
Anyone else?
Neha vikramana shosti Pratyavayana vidyate Svalpamapyasya dharmasya Trayate mahato bhayat.
Anyone else to try? All right, then read the translation.
Word to word.
No, just translation.
In this endeavor, there is no loss or diminution, and a little advancement on this path can protect one from the most dangerous type of fear. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. Activity in Krishna consciousness or acting for the benefit of Krishna without expectation of sense gratification is the highest transcendental quality of work. Even a small beginning of such activity finds no impediment, nor can that small beginning be lost at any stage. Any work begun on the material plane has to be completed, otherwise the whole attempt becomes a failure. But any work begun in Krishna consciousness has a permanent effect, even though not finished. The performer of such work is therefore not at loss, even if his work in Krishna consciousness is incomplete. One person done in Krishna consciousness bears permanent results, so that the next beginning is from the point of 2%, whereas in material activity without 100% success there is no profit. Ajamila performed his duty in some percentage of Krishna consciousness, but the result he enjoyed at the end was 100% by the grace of the Lord. There is a nice verse in this connection in Srimad Bhagavatam 1.5.17. Tyaktva swa dharmam charanam bhujam hare bhajan apakvo tab pate tato yadi yatra kwa va bhadram abhut amusya kim ko vartha apto bhajatam swa dharmataha. If someone gives up his occupational duties and works in Krishna consciousness and then falls down on account of not completing his work, what loss is there on his part? And what can one gain if one performs his material activities perfectly? Or, as the Christians say, what profiteth a man if he gain the whole world yet suffer the loss of his eternal soul? Material activities and their results end with the body, but work in Krishna consciousness carries a person again to Krishna consciousness even after the loss of the body. At least one is sure to have a chance in the next life of being born again as a human being, either in the family of a great cultured Brahmana or in a rich aristocratic family that will give one a further chance for elevation. That is the unique quality of work done in Krishna consciousness.
Thank you. Omagena Timirandasya, Yonjanasya Kanda, Satsu Navita, Dina Tasma, Si Gurave Maha, Sujeta Yamanasa, Savritam, Swayam Rupam, Kadamaya, Vadatsva. Vandase Krishna Chaitanya, Prabhu Nityananda, Sri Advaita Gadara, Sri Vasudeva Swami Bhakti. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna, Pristaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Nityananda. Namaste Saraswati Deva Gauravani, Pachavane, Nirvasesa, Sonya Bhadi, Pashatya, Sitara. Vanchakalpatari Vyacha, Kripasandhya, Vyacha, Kiritanam, Vaishnavi Divanamam. So thank you everyone for coming to participate in this evening class. So we find that this is very transcendental knowledge. The dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna, between the learner and the teacher, or between the learner and the and the andragogist. The two approaches to knowledge acquisition, that is the pedagogy and that is the andragogy. A pedagogy means that the professor comes to the class, he downloads his stuff for the student. Students these days not taking or record the whole download from the professor, and you're able to reproduce that, you get A. Now, in andragogy, the student is not considered to be a blank slate. The student could also be very learned. And there is a discussion. The teacher may just be a facilitator. And this is where you find the case of Arjuna and Krishna. Arjuna was highly learned. He will argue back and forth. He will quote Shastra. Hey, this is what the Shastra says. Hey, this is what the Purana says. Hey, this is what, students don't talk to the teachers like that. But in andragogy, you are free to air your views because you are considered a matured learner. It's not that you're a blank slate. You have a lot of stuff to share, even with the teacher. Sometimes the teacher will gain so much from the student. That is andragogy. So, the dialogue between Krishna and Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, which resulted to this Bhagavad Gita, is considered andragogical. Because Arjuna was not a blank slate, he was a highly learned Kshatriya. He was highly learned in Brahmanical culture. And therefore, when Krishna made the proposition, Krishna tried to persuade him to go to engage in violence, Arjuna reminded Krishna about the implications of his proposal. Now, Krishna also listened to Arjuna with rapt attention. And Krishna's main purpose was a strategy we call it management science, persuasion. Persuasion. Persuasion means you bring your ideas, logical ideas, convincing ideas. You don't bully the person. You present your convincing ideas. You find this in the law court. The judge has to be convinced by the arguments of the counsel, of the lawyer. The judge is fully equipped with knowledge. The lawyer is also fully equipped with knowledge. But the judge is the facilitator of the court proceedings. And therefore, there is that opportunity of learning from each other. And therefore, the judge will listen attentively to what the advocate is presenting. The lawyers or the counsel will also listen attentively to what the judge is presenting. The both of them are highly learned in law, but the judge is the facilitator for a positive change. Krishna was also here, or is here as the facilitator for a positive spiritual change. And Arjuna recognized that. Arjuna was complaining about getting to war and the inherent loss that will accrue because he's going to lose his, not only his reputation, he's going to lose his family members. You see, when you have resources, you don't enjoy the resources all alone. You need people to enjoy the resources with you. So Arjuna advanced different type of counter propositions to Krishna's advocacy for a battle. And therefore the both of them, they learned from each other. But Krishna was there as the facilitator. And here, one of these, this is one of the statements wherein Lord Krishna is presenting his thesis or advocacy, trying to persuade Arjuna that, see, whatever service you have to do on this battlefield, this so-called battlefield, is already done. You just be an instrument of change. You get the credit. I have finished the business. So either you do it and get the credit, or someone else is going to come and do it and get the credit. What do you want? And then here Krishna is mentioning about how if even you don't have all this stuff accomplished, there's no loss. You are a gainer. You stand to gain. Why? Because this is service to me, your Lord. Wherever you stop, there's no loss. I mean, it's like if you go to college, you don't graduate, you don't get a certificate. Your whole years in college could be something regretful. Money is lost, time is gone. You don't have, yes, you may have the skills, but you don't have accreditation. You don't have paperwork. You are not documented. You can't go and print your own paper. You have to be documented. Therefore, we have all this clearinghouse in the educational system. You give some information, so they'll check in the clearinghouse. And therefore, it's so interesting to see how this very old system of andragogy also comes to play these days, even in the political setting. In the Congress, there is, a chair. In the Senate, there's a chair. House of Representatives, there's a chair. All of them, they know the law. That's a facilitator. This person advocate this argument, this person. The same thing was going on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. That learning was very intense for Arjuna. And you know what? What type of learning is this? You have to learn on a battlefield? These days, people stay in the classroom in cozy, air-conditioned rooms, or warm. During the winter, you don't use air conditioner. The rooms are warmed up. So you don't stay in a battlefield in the cold, like in the battlefront at the war front, at the Ukrainian or Russian war front, in the cold. No. The students who are learning, they are in comfortable zones, comfortable environments. There are different psychological constructs that have to deal with learning. There are the endogenous factors that facilitate learning. There are also the exogenous factors. And those exogenous factors, we have the environment as one of those principles. So here the environment was a battlefront. How are you going to learn something on a battlefront? You tell me. Even the anxiety alone, someone is trying to lecture you on battlefront, you listen. And that was that was how Arjuna, received the Bhagavad Gita. He learned from Krishna, his guru, on a battlefront. Battlefront soldiers are in anxiety. You're going to give a lecture on the battlefront? And that has to be passed as a legacy for people yet to be born. This is what we are receiving. So we should understand. Now we're sitting in the room here. Outside is very cold. Here is warm. And so we should consider ourselves to be very fortunate because the condition that Arjuna received this knowledge was really harsh. We would say very unfavorable to learning. A war friend is unfavorable to learning. So we can understand the status of Arjuna for someone to learn on a battlefield on a battlefield. Someone to receive lectures on a battlefield. The battlefield becomes your classroom. We don't find that in the 21st century. And so we should see how sacred this knowledge that we are receiving today in comfortable environment, how sacred this knowledge is. Nothing good comes easy. We want to attain our goals. It's not going to be easy, but we have to make efforts. Arjuna was a charioteer. Krishna, yes, he is the supreme personality of Godhead, but Krishna did not do everything. He was only pulling the chariots for Arjuna. So Krishna can be our charioteer. He's not going to be our archer. We have to be the archers. It's like some people say, well, I just depend on Krishna, and everything will flow. A prophet said, make your plans and hang it on Krishna like a garland. It's not that you just sit back and say, well, Krishna should do everything. So, in devotional service, we are meant to understand here, whatever we do does not go for vain. I remember the case, I think I just told this story in Michigan also. There was this lady, she was a princess, and when Prabhupada was establishing the deities in Vrindavan, he wanted someone to sponsor one set of those deities. I don't know whether Radha Simasunda it's Radha Simasunda, yeah, I remember. So then, this lady, she was a princess, she came from an aristocratic family, very rich, so she sponsored. Later she got married and, lead her life, social life, in a good way. When she was to die, when she was leaving the body, that was in Calcutta. So she told the president of the temple, the president of the temple told us this story. He told the president of the temple, please bring me a picture of the temple deities. They have Radha Krishna deities there also in Calcutta temple. And so the president, he went to check, he checked in his home, he didn't find the presiding deity's picture. He checked in all of the devotees' homes, he called this person, I find out none of them had, at that time, the deity, the presiding deity's picture at their home. But the dying lady said she wanted, when someone is about to die, what they request for is what you need to give them. She said she wanted the presiding deity's picture to watch as she is living. Couldn't be found. However, the temple president found Radha Krishna picture, deity, in his house, but it was the Radha Krishna deity pictures of Vrindavan, Radha Simasunda. So he brought this photo. He was hesitant because the lady knows the presiding deity pictures of the temple. So he brought these photos to this dying queen and said, Mataji, see, I tried to search for the presiding deity's picture. I couldn't find all over the community. I couldn't find. But I have these pictures. It's the same Krishna. So use this, have darshan of Radha Krishna. It's the same personality. Immediately she saw this pictures of Radha Simasunda. She said, oh, Krishna is so great. I sponsored this deities in Vrindavan. And now Krishna has come to me at the time I'm living. Yeah, so whatever service we may perform in Krishna consciousness, we should not expect someone to pat us on the back. Krishna is there. At the appropriate time, he comes to pat you on the back. So that was an eye-opener for our devotional community, how Krishna reciprocates with our services. And so here in this text it's mentioned that whatever services we do, he takes cognition of that. And if we are not able to perfect, attain the appropriate level of purity, and to go back to Krishna, we have the opportunity to be born in an aristocratic setting where, that you find this amongst devotee community children. And parents are the ones saying, hey, let's go to temple, let's go here, let's go there. This is a great fortune. Some people, I know some of my mentees, even here in the US, they may be born by Indian parents. I know a case of one devotee. The mother will wake up in the night and straight she will go to this girl's room to check whether she's there. They never wanted her to get involved with chanting. Parents are from South India. The father had Ph.D. in clinical research. The mother had 2 masters. But they won't let this girl to chant Krishna's name or to get involved in devotional service. Oh yeah. So we find people that are born in this movement, kids born in this movement, that the parents have to, from childhood, right from pregnancy, they are exposed to devotional service. So there's a big difference. These are people who didn't complete their journey, who didn't perfect their existence in their past endeavor. Krishna gave them the opportunity to be born in an environment that they would not have any hindrance to execute devotional service. That's exactly what Prabhupada meant in the purpose here. So this is real. We should endeavor in Krishna consciousness. This is something we can do and will be carried on. If even we are not able to perfect this life, to be carried on to our next life. Everything else we do, when this body is finished. It is all the devotional service that our credits will be taken to our next existence. Any comments or questions? Yes.
It sounds sometimes to me that Krishna is, when you said that Krishna said you're going to get the credit, to me it's like an argument kind of materialistic, like, because later you have to expect that pat on the back, and as if like Arjuna is waiting for this, and then when he says, oh, I get the credit, so okay, then I'm fine. Like, why would the spiritual person care about the credit or no credit?
Krishna was past within Arjuna. I mentioned that. He was advancing a strategy we call, in management science, persuasion. You try to convince someone to do something that he or she is not even willing to do it. You're not forcing, you're convincing the person with logic, reasoning, argument, data, references. And to convince the person, hey, this is the right thing to do, boy. And here, Krishna continued. Papa mentioned that also in the purport. It's the same type of advocacy that get involved in devotional service. Hey, what are you waiting for? If you're not able to finish in this life, your credit goes with you to the next phase of your existence. So it's all the same persuasion. And when we get convinced about doing something through persuasion, we don't look back because we argued and we are convinced by all our ambiguities, we are clarified. Then we give in to it. Yeah. So yeah, it seems like, a real materialistic a way of life that they do this and look at what you gain. But you know what? Even people in general, I mean, I use this analogy all the time. Suppose you're telling a child to chant Hare Krishna. You have a child, you tell him to chant Hare Krishna. Chant, we are prisoners. Chant, you go back to Godhead. What is it? I'm fine here. Where's that kingdom of God? Where is it? Mama, show me where is the kingdom. And then you'll be thinking, oh, my child is becoming atheistic. No, you advance some logic, you advance some argument, be ready to be questioned. So, for a child, you need to tell them why they need to chant. Tell them the immediate benefit they will get. Forget about going back to Godhead. And this, I've been dealing with parents, and this is one of the areas I've been trying to explore and let parents know, because then they complain, oh, my child refused to chant. I said, what did you tell them? Oh, chant and become purified. We are prisoners here. Come on, you telling your child we are prisoners here? How is that going to sink well with that child? So, that is the approach that Krishna is using there. Although Arjuna is not a child, but then he's playing the role of an ordinary person. What they are going to gain, what they are going to get. It's like you want to go and talk to, for instance, you want to go and preach to somebody. So in management science, this is a very common phenomenon. You want to make a presentation. What is the problem you are trying to address? This is the first question we ask. What is the problem you're trying to address? Or you want to just talk like a parrot, what everyone else has said. Now, if you go with this type of concept to preach to people, it is very difficult to get even people to come to listen. Except you make your topic in a way that it addresses their problem. Then they will come. When they come, yes, you talk about their problem, but then you can also give them Krishna consciousness. That's how it works. So Arjuna was being, Krishna was persuading Arjuna. And he said, look, you can gain like this, you can gain like this. You're a kshatriya? Yeah. Come on. like a bait. And this is our nature, we don't want to deal with delayed gratification. We want quick fix. Now and here. What am I going to get? So Krishna uses that very strategy to try to convince Arjuna. Do it. You get a credit. You get a big reputation. Everything is already done. You will not even die. Everything is finished. These guys, they're finished. Just go get the reputation. It's persuasion. Yeah. Thank you. Any other comment? Yes.
Forgive me for my negligence. This question might be a little different.
Uh-huh.
Can someone not want to be successful? Can someone want to be successful and also be spiritual at the same time?
Yeah, why not? Yeah.
I keep reading certain lines. I'm not familiar with Bhagavad. But I keep reading certain lines which says that a man with materialistic needs to stop having materialistic needs and has to go through Krishna consciousness and all that. Why can't we do the same thing? Both at the same time?
Both of them, they go together because, see, maybe there's some misunderstanding there. Because in that same Bhagavad Gita, Krishna mentions a lot of things, how one could dovetail their skill sets, their talents, their resources in the service. In the Prabhupada's own words, he says, dovetail whatever you have in the service of Krishna. Now look at the kings. Look at the Raja Rishis. They are so rich and they control the whole world. But they are the closest devotees to Krishna. So I think it's a misconception when people think that a criterion for being a spiritualist is that you have to embrace poverty. No, it's not the case. See, I'm a Swami, I'm a guru, I'm a doctor of management science. And I traveled around the whole world. I go to places and people respect the fact that he is a professional and a spiritualist. That is what most people will want to identify with. So we don't make this advocacy that, if you want to become a spiritualist, then you just, be poverty-strict, embrace poverty and all this stuff. We are preaching yukta viragya. Yukta viragya means utilizing all of your resources in the service of the Lord. Because ultimately, we don't own anything. Everything belongs to Krishna. So we use our resources in serving the Lord. In fact, when Lord Chaitanya was on the planet, he was traveling in South India, and then a Brahmin had approached him that he wants to abandon his family to follow him. Lord Chaitanya said, no, you go make your family a temple. Yes, so this is the Supreme Personality of God himself. And even Lord Chaitanya, he married even twice. Lord Nityananda, he married, and he had powerful kids. What's his name? Virabhadra was powerful. Ganga Devi, she was also very powerful. So if this is the Supreme Personality of God, he set example for us. Krishna had 16,108 palaces. So the God we're worshiping is not a poor God. It's not a poor God. To build one palace is a big challenge. A big challenge. He had 16,108 palaces. Yeah. Yeah. So we encourage people to embrace what we call integration of professional development and spirituality. Professional development and sadhana. If you have a balance, you can be a sustainable, successful person. Now, if there is a loophole, if there is a deficiency, a spiritual deficiency in your life, you can be even the director for International Monetary Fund. And you go down, and that has happened. The 10th director for International Monetary Fund, he came to America, he came to New York from France. He came to New York and he went to jail. He lost his job because of spiritual deficiency. Yeah. Any other comments or questions? You're welcome. And then one other important point is that as young people or as professionals and students, one may complain, I don't have the time because I'm busy with work, or because I'm busy with studies. I like to meet people who have this type of argument. I love it. Then we sit down to analyze how you use your 24 hours. And then you realize that you can't account for a chunk of your time. And the result is that you're not an effective time manager. For you to be able to balance your professional development and your spiritual practice, sadhana, you need to have expertise in effective time management. Each time I meet people, they meet me privately, they ask me, but how did you make it? How are you making it? I went to one university for a presentation, and after the introduction, so when I finished the presentation, there was one devotee who was in the hall. She was a student in that university. So she came to me to ask that, Maharaj, but how are you able to make it? Because even just to chant 16 rounds and study is a big problem. You traveling around, researching, publishing, and you have all these publications constantly coming in. How did you make it? I said, the secret is effective time management. You don't play around, you don't dilly-dally with people, with situations that are not related to your work, and are not related to your studies, and are not related to your spiritual culture. And people can waste so much of time on electronic gadgets, waste so much of time on the internet. I know people who fail and drop out from college because of internet addiction. I know people who lost their jobs because of internet addiction. Before, addiction used to be drugs. There are different addictions now. I remember I was boarding the plane to Chicago and from Baltimore, and then I saw one boy was in front of me, and then he put on this type of, this hat that they flip to the back, and then what was written on the back on his cap? He said his own drugs. He described his own drugs. He said, girls are drugs. For him, girls are drugs. Okay, so if you identify that girls are drugs, men are also drugs. So we like to label people and shift the blame on people. Therefore, it's important we understand. We should understand why the top-notchers, the top achievers, how they fall down, and try to prevent same thing happening to us. That's the whole intelligence required in growing in our profession and being able to sustain that growth. So effective time management is an effective tool in trying to help us to grow in our effort to integrate spiritual practice and professional culture. All right, any other comments, last comment or questions? In the absence of any other comments or questions, we'd like to adjourn this meeting, and thank you everyone for coming to participate in this Bhagavad Gita discussion. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.